is Zambia votes 2021. My name is Kelvin Tabola Chifoko, and thank you so much that you're still up and still waiting for those results. Now we are standing at 62 constituencies that have been officially announced. These are real results, authentic results by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The next results will be announced tomorrow at 12 in the morning. That is according to Justice Isao Chulu. Tomorrow 12 hours in the morning. That is when we are going to get another update. We continue to analyze the happenings. Lusaka Province Youth Chairperson in the Patriotic Front, I wanted to say Kenneth Gamba. Kenneth Gamba is MCC, is the provincial chair. But Daniel Kalembe says they are still winning these elections according to their PVT, and he had a message for the youths in the Patriotic Front. Also, Gilbert Liswanis of the UPND at the national level, is a national youth chairperson, also had a message for the young people and the people of Zambia for what is happening when it comes to the issues of results. Mavuto Piri is still awake and analyzing the happenings. Mavuto, good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Thank you so much. Also joining us is Aaron Ngambi, a political analyst, also a commentator. Mr. Ngambi, good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be back on Movie TV.
Gentlemen, now the difference, or let me, out of the 62 constituencies that have been announced so far, Hakainde Chilema of the UPND stands at 1,024,212. ECL of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the incumbent, stands at 562,523. Mr. Ngambi, what do you make of where we are now? 62. Hakainde Chilema has polled 1 million already. The incumbent ECL is at 562,523.
Well, I have to say that last time I was here, I thought that this race was going to be a very tight race. In fact, my predictions were that it would be almost impossible to get 50+1 for either the Patriotic Front or the UPND alliance. But from where we stand now, it looks like things tend to be the other way around. Looks like, President Hakainde Hichilema is almost headed for a victory in the first round of the elections, because from the results that we have out of the 62 constituencies, if you do the math, you find that Hakainde Hichilema is sitting at 61% so far of the votes. And President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, he's only roughly about 33%. So we have about 94 constituencies to go, and that means that if half of those constituencies are announced by tomorrow midday at 12, and still Hakainde Hichilema is leading, that could be a decisive victory for the UPND alliance at President Hakainde Hichilema in the first round of elections.
So those of you that are watching us, the figures are beaming on your TV sets, and like Mr. Ngambi has mentioned, Hakainde Hichilema is now standing with the total votes casted and counted, the valid votes. He is standing at 61%, 61 point something percent. Mavuto Piri, let me get your 2 cents on the happening. We are now at 62 out of 156 constituencies. The difference looks to be huge. Hakainde Hichilema is standing at 1,024,212, whilst his closest rival, President Edgar Lungu, the incumbent, His Excellency, is at 562,223. What do you make of this?
I know that people have been posting. Now the focus is on the difference. But when you look at the difference, it's a bit too huge. In that we're talking about more than 400,000 votes for President Lungu to be able to get to Mr. Hichilema. But what is key for me is if you look at the previous elections of 2016 and what we're having now, the difference was about only 100,000 votes. And if you look at that 100,000 votes, that time, President Lungu had strongholds. But in this year's elections, the ones that they're counting, Hakainde Hichilema seems to have gotten almost votes in all parts of the country. Even in the what I referred to earlier in the morning, that Hakainde Hichilema seems to have entered the bedroom of the PF and is getting massive votes. And slowly, if you look at what they would always call the bedroom or the stronghold, is where he's hitting in. If you look at, for instance, Sinda, who would think for a moment that in 2021, Hakainde Hichilema would beat President Lungu in Sinda by 1,000 votes. And you're talking about 10,000 votes to 9,000 votes. You talk about Kaputa. Today, as we are sitting here, he's penetrated the northern bloc. He's gotten Mpulungu, he's gotten Imbala, Isoka, about four constituencies, Kaputa equally. So, if you look at these numbers, then you begin to think otherwise. I'm not here to declare the final result, but projections are pointing to something otherwise. That's what I would say. And what also makes it interesting, I think it's the earlier statement that emanated from State House, where the president...
we will be discussing, because more statements have been issued. Lars has commented, and we'll be talking about the statement that has been issued by Lars. But Mr. Ngambi, President Edgar Lungu, where he is now, and the difference, he needs to pour 438,311 for him to catch up with Hakainde Hichilema. Where is he going to get these votes? Based on what Mavuta submitted, that it looks as if he doesn't have a stronghold. Can you bank on Lusaka?
Well, I think that's a very good question, because if you look previously, one would have thought that the PF were actually very strong, for example, on the Copper Belt. Okay? The Copper Belt used to be one of those areas where the Patriotic Front had massive following. I mean, you're talking about even among the so-called Jerabos, they supported the party of Mr. Sata, and also subsequently supported President Lungu. Now, if you look at Kalulushi, for example, Kalulushi, President Lungu got 18,000 votes plus, and Hakainde Hichilema put 29,000 votes plus. So, this goes to the point that Mavuta was making here, that not only has Hakainde penetrated, and the UPND Alliance penetrated in areas that were perceived as strongholds for the Patriotic Front, and they actually have penetrated and won some of these areas, and where they've lost by a small margin. Kabushi, for example. I mean, President Lungu had about 19,000 plus votes, and President Hakainde Hichilema was at 16,000 plus votes. And so, this is where it's going to be very difficult for the Patriotic Front and President Lungu to come back, if you will. It will be very difficult for them to catch up and make up that 400,000 plus votes that's required.
Mavuto, 438,311. These are the votes that President Edgar Lungu should, have now in order for him to catch up with Hakainde Hichilema. It seems the president is not doing fine in northwestern, in southern, in western. The gap between the two is huge. Like you've mentioned, when we go to Kaputa, we go to Chadiza, Chipata Central, Malambo. We talk about Mukaika.
These are areas...
The gap seems to be...
These are areas, I think, previously, you would not even think of the UPND. But look at the figures that they're getting.
What has happened?
That is one thing that we need to understand. I was just chatting with somebody that actually in some constituencies, when you compare, I know they have not yet declared them, but you should have a look at critical, some of the constituencies. Actually, Hakainde Hichilema was beating his own members of parliament in terms of the votes. Then you sit and begin to ask yourself, have the candidates won because of his name? or they were campaigning.
And I think by and large, that's what's happening in
Yes.
most places.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people. I'll give an example of Kalalushi again. So interrupt him,
No problem.
but in Kalalushi, you find that the independent Rashida came very close to winning against Kampamba Mlenga. I understand she has retained that seat of the Patriotic Front. But if you look at how much she got, I think Kampamba Mlenga got about 18,000 votes plus, and Rashida got about 17,000 votes plus. But then the UPND candidate came third, about 10,000 plus. So if Rashida as an independent was to run on the UPND ticket, I can guarantee you that she would have won. And that, by and large, has happened in most places because the president of the UPND Alliance, Hakainde Hichilema, I think by and large most people preferred him. I think that he has done a lot of work over the period of 20 years, and that some of the people have won these areas, I mean parliamentary level or mayoral level, as a result of their affiliation or membership or standing on the party ticket of the UPND.
I think, like Aaron has said, for me, he's one of the most traveled politicians. He's interacted with the people, and now the people no longer needed an introduction. We saw, I think, someone was just sharing me when they went to Chipata and in Kasama, they got into a taxi, and the leader of a party, when they asked who was popular or who they were going to vote for, they made it very clear that they were going for HH. I had a similar experience the other week. I traveled to Rapula, used the Betico. Actually, what I found on the route to the border, to the Zambian border, midst that route, I found about 2-3 guys were in Hakainde Hichilema, and that is not in Zambia, but in Congo, and they were selling honey, and it's like they were robbing for these votes. I don't know what kind of politics that the UPND, for instance, had employed during these elections, and they were making it clear. They offer you something to buy, you don't buy, and they just tell you and remind you, would you mind giving a vote to buy? I think this is the time, let's try. And very cordial. So I'm not surprised in terms of the votes that are getting. I think I'd also had a court case that involves the UPND officials. I was shocked in Rapula that actually plenty of their cadres came to court to support the people that were appearing in the courts of law. That was unheard of before. So for me, if you to ask me, I think it will be difficult to really get to catch up with him. I was also looking at one of the constituencies in the West where his representative or member of parliament has gotten about 30,000 votes. You look at the closest that he has gotten about 2,000 or 3,000. So the differences are too huge, and it will be very. It looks more unlikely that it's something you would call close to call.
Mr.
And the thing, if I look also at the PF stronghold, I want to. I'm having difficulties to be able to see which stronghold they'll be able to get votes to cover up to the 400. Because I remember vividly Michael Sata 2008. You remember, I miss one politician, may he so rest in peace, Ben Tetamashimba, at one point walked into the totaling center and says, oh, they finally finished the fishing from their ponds. And now? It's our time. And numbers started changing. We saw President Rupia Banda winning. It was the same also, very sarcastic, may he so rest in peace. During elections, one Mike Mulongoti, he would also appear from nowhere. Then you would know that things would change. So I think for me, at this stage, in terms of projections, will Wapula truly give the PF the missing link in terms of catching up? It's difficult to tell. And I don't think so, anyway.
Aaron, these elections have been held under the new normal. Campaigns, physical campaigns were not allowed, rallies, also road shows. We saw the Electoral Commission of Zambia banning the issue of road shows. How did the opposition alliance or the ruling party convince these people to vote for them? We know that the opposition talked, not only the opposition UPND alliance, but even these other 14 cried foul that were being stopped from campaigning. President Edgar Lungu was able to commission projects. We now have KKI. Yeah. We have.
But before Aaron comes in, there's one thing also. Partly, I'm thinking why they're getting a lot of numbers.
The opposition alliance?
Yes. If you looked at, this is what maybe we'll look at in the next 100 days after this announcement of results. I hope Aaron will still be around. But the brand also partly, the UPND had created with the alliance was very catchy. Barry, everybody was able to associate with that. And if you look at one of the, for me, naughty areas that I thought they would get a lot of votes, and they got a lot of votes, is a university. Look at the number of people that turned up to vote, even when the students were not within school. So it tells you something, that this election is more about people feeling they didn't have resolved business.
Very true. In fact, under the new normal, there were so many challenges, many challenges for political players and political parties to fully engage with the public. And this is why it was very difficult to make predictions of what will happen in this election, because there were no traditional campaign rallies, there were no means that the candidate would actually have interpersonal relations with the electorate. So because of that, most of us did not even see this coming. Most of the people, and I can guarantee you that people, especially in the Patriotic Front, even the officials in the Patriotic Front, some of them did not see this happening. Because if you go out there in the country, the mood was calm, people were just going about doing their own business. It seems like life was going on as normal. But there were indicators that the PF were becoming quite unpopular. For instance, we do know that the last days leading up to the election, we saw that President Hakainde Hichilema was blocked from going to the Copperbelt province, was stopped from going to the Copperbelt province. He was supposed to go and have a road show or interact with people there under the new normal, of course, adhering to COVID-19 guidelines, and be able to send his message of why he should be voted in this election. The day that he decided that he would be on the Copperbelt, we saw President Lungu coming. And for whatever reason, we have these new rules which are not legal, they're not binding, by the way, under the Patriotic Front, that if the president is in this province, then no any other candidates, political players challenging him should be in that area. So under that pretext, Hakainde Hichilema could not make it to the Copperbelt. And then on Monday, this week of the election, just a few days before Thursday, when we had elections, we saw that he posted in his social media, President Hakainde Hichilema, that the commander for ZAF did not issue him the payment to be able to fly into the Copperbelt. So all of these situations created what we call the law of unintended consequences. The Patriotic Front thought that they were stopping Hakainde Hichilema and prosecuting him and restricting him to a certain area, but they didn't know that they're helping him. Because what normally happens in life is that when people feel like you are oppressed, Kelvin, if you're oppressed, people want to sympathize with you. People want to say, but why is it that he's being treated unfairly?
So can we say the votes that the opposition alliance are getting, these are sympathy votes?
No, not exactly. I think that if you look in the case of President Hakainde Hichilema, he's been in the opposition for almost 20 years. And this has been a build-out process. He's been learning. He's attempted the president and failed a few times. And so because of that, he's become, what Mavuto said, a favorite person. With the branding of Bali, he's become a household name, and he's become relatable, especially with young people. I have a friend of mine at Unza who was up at 2 in the morning, just so that they can cast their vote when the polling stations opened. I mean, we've never seen such kind of enthusiasm and excitement. On the other side, some of us thought that there might actually be voter apathy because of the so-called the new normal. because people will say, oh, there's COVID-19, I don't want you to go there and stay in the line for hours and hours just to cast a vote. But the opposite happened. And because of that, I think that there are many lessons that we have all learned from that.
Mavuto, before the voting day, Thursday, we talked about the Electoral Commission of Zambia and also other, campaigners, for example, Chimbakambwiri, going ahead and holding rallies. The last rally that the PF held was in Chipata, and we saw big names like Chimbakambwiri, GBM.
I don't know what your also interpretation in politics about big names. If today we've
let me just ask my question.
we've got a 27-year-old mayor in Chipata.
Mayor.
Yes.
Okay. So
I don't know. Maybe being a member of a party for a long period of time, that makes one a veteran. I don't think politics is a science. So
okay,
I don't know.
But
let me allow you go.
Let me ask my question.
Question.
The PF held their last rally in Chipata, and the statements that we received then was that Eastern Province has said yes to Alebwele Lapo. Right now, as we speak, Chipata Central has gone to the opposition. Council, the mayor has gone to an independent, and
I know I don't need you to labor in terms of asking me a question, because I've got a very basic answer to that question. Expenses are before us, in front of us. I had the privilege to cover, I think, 2008 by-election, then 2011 general elections. But what you see in terms of the amount of numbers is practically not what is actually obtaining on the ground. Because what happens with governing political parties, they disappear in incumbents, for instance, and this could be the case in most parts of the country, where we saw the copper belt people turning up for rallies. But you have no power to be able to quantify, as a candidate, who is attending that rally. I'll tell you also, 2011, Kenishas Banda was MMD candidate in Mandev, and there was a big rally in Mandev. But when you saw the results, what happened? It tumbled. 2006, if I'm not mistaken, in Munali, Honorable Mumbipiri stood with a very powerful candidate. That's what I was asking you. Yes, you should be very careful with teams, veterans, popular, and if in that election, Honorable Mr. Chewadi almost given the entire constituency by scores, but he lost to very little known then Mumbipiri. So politics has got its own dimension. It's about capturing the minds of the people. I always laugh with one of my young man who, at university, who lost students' union elections to a guy with a simple.
Without a flag.
Yes.
And in fact, I think that Mavuto makes a valid point. I also remind people that, you see, when you show up at a rally, there are people there who are not registered to vote. There are, all sorts of kind of different people at the rally. And so when you're going to make prediction based on the crowds that you're pulling, you can be very disappointed. Because in politics, you have to be able, as a candidate, you have to be able to translate the numbers of the crowds that you're seeing to actually motivate them to show up on voting day and vote for you, and cast a vote for you. And so this is where most people don't get it. Most of the candidates don't get it. Yes, the PF, we've seen rallies, huge rallies. Even the media coverage for the PF virtual rallies have been almost on all the platforms across the country. They've paid huge sums of money just to be able to show people that they're out there, or they're the preferred party. But they did not have the message. What was the message that they were telling the Zambian people? I can sum that up in one sentence. The only selling point for the PF was that we have done well with infrastructure development, so you should vote for us so we can continue. But people are concerned about other things. People are concerned about the prices of the commodities going up every day. People are concerned about the economy. And I think that when people showed up in huge numbers, that was an indictment on the PF. They should have seen that. because these are not the numbers they were thinking people will show up on voting day. And because people showed up in huge numbers, in most cases, that is an indication, it is a clear message to most people that, in fact, it's a clear message to the administration in power that people are frustrated about something, they want a change of government, so they show up in huge numbers. Mostly when people are comfortable with the way of life and things are going well, many may not even bother to show up on election day, to line up and vote. So it is true that pulling crowds and showing up and there's so many people cheering for you doesn't mean that you win an election. You have to translate that kind of support at rallies to actually voting for you.
Yeah, and the other thing is that political parties that seem to have a lot of people, do you know what they possess? The arrogance. Because they can pick the cadres to these rallies. And we've seen, even here at one time, where we were told, actually, people travel to go for by-elections. And when people vote, the rallies are not there. We're seeing here. I took a jab at you the other time that why would be political parties, for instance, or the other 14 candidates will be getting a 1 and a 0 when during the nomination period the law demands, and I was hoping, and I'm hoping in future, this should be followed through, where the law demands that you present 1,000 people before you file in your nomination.
Yes. It is 100 per province.
Province.
And you've managed. And you've managed. And
we've got presidential candidates.
Was 16.
14 of them, among them, if you look at their total figure so far, it's not inspirational.
Out of 50,000 votes, it gets 2.
Not only that, we also have a political party that was boasting about having fired in candidates around the country on parliamentary level, mayoral level, and because that is how, to them, they think that they're a growing party and they have people all over the country. But you look at what happened in this election, and in fact, their leader was the first to concede.
Yes.
And they're getting 2, 1 here, 2, 3, and he was the first to concede. So, I mean, politics is very complicated.
I always tell people, politics is the only science with a surname. It's called political science. but as we go on, these are some of the lessons, and key lessons.
Lessons to who?
All of us, including us Zambians. That you remember, I was very critical, for instance, about debates. What is the value of, and these are candidates.
But let me just hold you there. We'll talk about the issues of debates. But it seems we've been joined by our staff from Southern Province, Mwiya Mukumbota. Mwiya, good evening. Mwiya, good evening. Good evening, Mwiya.
How's Lusaka this evening?
Lusaka is very much fine. Are you in Livingstone?
Yes, very much in Livingstone. Just came back from the ground, just assessing the situation, how things are going, and things are happening as we have heard from the last press brief, from the briefing by ECZ. The results which are coming in from Southern Province, they are staggering.
So bring us to speed. What is it that you've gathered for us, whether it is in Livingstone Central or any other constituency that is near to you?
Okay, so in our area report, in our bulletin, our staffer, Vijay Mambo, gave us a round-up with regards to how the province is faring in terms of results which are trickling in from various polling stations, constituency level, be it now presidential, parliamentary, mayoral, and councillor positions. Now, we have seen that now there is a build-up. The latest we have from Katumbora constituency by by 18 hours, the results they were announced, and these are some of the results we have so far. In as much ECZ has not yet at the totaling center there in Lusaka, they have not yet announced, but at the constituency level here, they have announced the results, and they are as follows. I'll only give for the two leading candidates. So for presidential, we have as follows in Katombora constituency. UPND candidate Hakainde Hichilema has scored 42,466 against the presidential candidate for PF, the incumbent President Edgar Lungu, who has managed to pull 1,358 votes. That is in Katombora constituency. And also Livingstone, just a few hours ago, we had the results also consolidated for presidential, which are as follows. So for presidential, Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND has scored 45,368 votes here in Livingstone constituency, and this is against President Lungu, who has managed to poll 13,278 votes. So this is the latest we are having here, just like the way we reported that the grip of UPND is still being cemented, is still being maintained. And we also, when the briefing was just being announced there in Lusaka, Snazongwe is also pulling up a surprise, or it is one of the constituencies, a surprise of 48,000 against 48,000 plus for presidential candidate against about 1,000 or so for President Lungu. So this is really something which was expected. The projections, like our staffer Mijelo Mambo, who was giving that roundup of the projections, and this is coming to reality, that UPND is headed for victory in all the constituencies here in the southern province.
Now, Muya, you've talked, you've given us those results at the presidential level in Katombora. Let's talk about the MP candidate. Have they declared the results as to who has scooped the Katombora seat?
Yes, the new blood in the name of Clement Handeleki, we just also we are told that he has poured over 42,000 plus votes against his PF rival, who had about 1,000 plus votes. So even that side, the UPND has cemented its grip, or it has maintained its grip. And the Leki is the new parliamentary. He's the new MP for Katombora constituency, and also we are projecting that for Livingstone constituency, Rodney Sikumba is also projected to win the parliamentary seat here in Livingstone. So this is the latest. And also, I must make mention that the council chairperson for Katombora constituency, it has gone also to UPND. The candidate there, Madam Tatila, also as the scoped, or maybe I just complete her name. she got the
Tatila
name of
Mbozi.
Mbozi Tatila.
Yes.
So she's the new council chairperson for Kazungula or for Katombora constituency. And also early in the morning when I was getting an update, the council and the mayor position here in Livingstone, it has gone to Mulevai of the Unity Party for National Development after his, after her closest rival, Evans Fenete of the Patriotic Front, considered defeat that, according to the verified results from his own PVT, showed that the UPND mayoral candidate had scooped the mayoral seat. So thus far, this is the latest we are having from the UPND's perspective in Katombora constituency, Livingstone, and also Sinazongwe, and also the another constituency which is of interest is Kalomo Central, which has also gone for Harry Kamboni, as I earlier reported in the morning, and also the council chairperson position, it has gone to Koi Makaya. So basically he's just returning his seat, just like the parliamentarian Harry Kamboni returning his seat. And also for Sinazongwe council chairperson, Siaka Choma, he has gotten the council chairperson seat. So the grip is being maintained. If we head to Choma, Cornelius Mwetwa, he has beaten his closest rival, Kenneth Mola, by 50,000 plus votes against 5,000 plus for Kenneth Mola. It is a landslide victory, and also just around 19 hours, we also heard from Monze that Jack Mwembu has also retained his seat as the Monze Central parliamentarian. So as far Southern Province, the group is being maintained.
Thank you so much, Muya, for giving us, those updates, and wishing you all the best as you continue to monitor the elections in Southern Province.
Thank you very much, and good night, everyone in the studio.
Thank you so much. You can now rest, Muya. Gentlemen, that was Muya Mukumbuta, our staffer in Southern Province, giving us those results. But before I come to you, it seems we have one of our staffs also who is, in Chawama constituency, Innocent Piri. Innocent, good evening. Innocent Piri, are you there? Piri Innocent, good evening. Innocent Piri, are you there? Okay, it seems Innocent Piri, our staff in Chawama, will be able to join us via whenever he's ready, so that he brings us to speed. And confirmed information is that Tasila Lungu, the daughter to the incumbent president, His Excellency, has scooped the Chawama seat, and so we'll try by all means to get to our staffer, Innocent Piri, so that he can bring us to speed and also help us in understanding, what has transpired in Chawama. We are told in the afternoon there was confusion in Chawama, but if they have, the Electoral Commission of Zambia have managed to consolidate the results and declare Tasila as the duly elected Member of Parliament for Chawama, will be able to get to that information when Innocent Piri is ready. Gentlemen, I want us to move on because we've got a lot to discuss. Let's talk about the statement that was released from State House, asking the Electoral Commission of Zambia to hold on. In the morning, we had PF Secretary General Davis Sumwila rising on a point of order, if I can use that that word. raising on that, objecting or asking the Electoral Commission of Zambia to hold on and explain what happened to their polling agents in southern, western and northwestern province. And now we saw a letter from State House saying these elections are not free and fair. Let me start with you, Aaron.
Yes, it's very unfortunate that the president can say that in this election. You know that our president deployed the military across the country to help the police to make sure that we have a free and fair election. And yet, we have President Lungu come around and tell us that this election is not free and fair. And then also it's unfortunate that the Secretary General of the Patriotic Front would even think of trying to stop the Electoral Commission of Zambia from announcing results. I mean, there's no legal framework or legal basis for him to do that. So that just shows you that I think what is happening in the PF camp is like what others would refer to as the center doesn't hold anymore. Because honestly speaking, these are the people who are in charge of this election. I mean, the president himself is responsible to make sure that there was peaceful elections, they were free and fair, that the environment was conducive for that kind of atmosphere. And now for him to come around and say, no, our polling agents have been chased from the polling stations, but I think they deployed the military to be able to assist with security and to be able to assist to maintain law and order. So to me, I think that the statement from State House is not truthful. I don't think that there's any element of the claims that they're making, any element of truth in that. We have received reports that in some of these specific areas like Western Province, I've mentioned Western Province, Southern and Northwestern Province as areas where, the opposition or people, they pretty much kidnapped the PF agents, the polling agents. I mean, we've had statements, counter statements saying that that is not true, that actually the G20 form where polling agents have to sign, they've been signed by PF agents who are supposed to be at these polling stations. So if there are such claims, they need to bring evidence. They need to substantiate that and be able to provide to the Zambian people. And so, well, in Western Province, at this polling station, we didn't have agents, so the G20 does not have the signature of our agent. Then maybe those claims will hold water. But right now, what we're seeing from State House is just someone just popping off, for lack of a better term.
Mavuto, in the morning, the SG said that we don't have the G20 because we didn't have representatives. And now the letter coming from State House, what do you make of that?
If you really want me to comment on that issue, I'll be a bit sarcastic.
But you don't have to. The SG has been consistent. Okay. You talked about this yesterday.
I'll be a bit mild.
To
satisfy you.
Just analyze the issue.
No. I want to be honest. You know me when I want to be very honest.
Maybe you just hold on, as you are trying to be honest. Maybe Innocent, good evening.
Good evening, comrades, and indeed good evening, the viewers that are watching us, of course, at this moment.
Tell us, are you still in Chawama?
Yes, we're still in Chawama, but a different spot, not at the secondary school where the announcement were being done from. Remember that the Zambian army, they are all over this time around, taking full, they are in full control with all the environment. So after the declaration, we were told to find other spots where we could at least, accommodate ourselves. So in short, we've been evicted from the actual place where we were. And to find your own way at your own risk.
So bring us to speed. Tell us what is it that has transpired in Chawama.
Yes, what has transpired in Chawama, like I did mention earlier on, is the final declaration as far as the results for a member of parliament is now concerned. And I can safely say that Tasila Lungu has been declared as winner for Chawama constituency as the next member of parliament from now going to all the way 2026. And in terms of the differences, I should make mention that the difference from Potiphar Tembo, the former deputy mayor of Lusaka, who also acted as Lusaka mayor, is 14,000. That's the difference which is there, a very huge difference. So to mention, because Tasila Lungu, Potiphar Tembo rather, got 19,000 votes plus, while Tasila Lungu, she's trailing on 38,000, about somewhere there. I need to check the correct figures because I don't have the sheet right now to read, and it's dark right now, I can't read. Yeah, but that's what I can say. She's trailing on about 38,000, and the Potiphar Tembo is somewhere in 19,000. So the difference really is something that is very huge, as indicated by the presiding officer, Isaiah Nkata, who did indicate that looking at the results at the moment, it's an issue whereby if we sat and gave them to Potiphar Tembo, for example, who comes or who's standing on position number 2nd, still more, you wouldn't have managed to catch up to the figures where Tasila Lungu has managed. But this again, despite the victory of Tasila Lungu and also the justification by the returning officer, Mr. Isaiah Nkata, again, we can't pretend or we can't ignore the fact that these are the results actually that were in the contention between the camp from Potiphar Tembo, because there were some figures that were not carrying according to their information. You've heard the confusion that is at Mungushi Conference Center there, the National Totaling Center, where the figures that are supposed to be maybe allocated to maybe, for example, DP leader, or it could be Anford Banda, they are given to different individuals. Even in Chawama, the same things happened in which some figures that were supposed to be given, for example, to Socialist Party candidates, they were being allocated, for example, to another candidate who is for Anford Banda. You know, so there's that confusion from the polling, or should I say, presiding officers among the ECZ themselves. I did interview one of the returning officers in the news, in which he did confess to say these are, mistakes that are being made by the commission officials themselves. So he has admitted that they can't blame anybody, but they have to blame themselves. Again, there were some figures that were supposed to be given to Potiphar Tembo, I think about should be 15, 15 figures or so number, which was supposed to be allocated to Potiphar Tembo. It was given to a different candidate, not Tasila Lungu per se. So it was at that moment that people, became very agitated. People became very furious. In which, at some point, the grouping from Potiphar Tembo decided to say, "I think we cannot go ahead with this kind of confusion or these problems. So we are going to halt the process." So they had halted the process at some point, which took or led to the town clerk himself, Mr. Alex Mwansa, to drive from the civic center to go to Chawama to go and help, harmonize or convene a dialogue meeting from the UPND camp as well as the PF camp to ensure that there is harmony at the end of the day. But I should make mention further, comrades in the studio and the viewers that are watching, that the results for Tasila, I think, sometimes psychologically, for me, who has been covering these elections for a long time and different by-elections, sometimes it's very easy for you to predict who the winner is. For example, if the returning officer has remained with maybe a few polling stations to announce, what you are going to see there, if you want to be a prophet at Chifokolo or SN or Mavudo, just see the people that are going to escape, that are going to run away from the polling station, in terms of the monitors. If you see, for example, if the PF, they are going to run away from the polling station, just know that the grouping that is going to remain, waiting for the final results, is the one that has won. So that's what happened. At Chawama, we saw Tasila Lungu, coming to the polling station at about, that was around, I think, 11 hours. She was there with her husband, by the name of Patrick Mwansa. who is also a campaign manager, or was the campaign manager to Tasila Lungu. So they were there the whole day. I couldn't see Potiphar Tembo. I did make an attempt to communicate with him, but he kept on referring me to speak to his, constituent chairperson. Of course, even him, who made it clear to say we are not accepting these results because there are a lot of confusion. So this is how the much dispute these elections were concerned. But let me maybe hasten further, comrades, to say it doesn't matter whether the difference is huge or it's a difference of maybe 50,000 votes. But when there is an irregularity, I think that it can necessitate an election to be petitioned. Because when you make a mistake as a commission, as a returning officers or presiding officers, that is a gap that can force the other grouping to go and petition, even if when they knew that they were going to lose, they'll still petition you because they don't trust you to handle their elections. So these are the events that escalated within the Chawama constituency, and we were kept there necessarily. We were told, you need to wait. The results will be announced in a few minutes from now, in 30 minutes from now, 15 minutes from now. And we kept on waiting until, unfortunately, it went up to 22 hours plus some are there. So basically, these are some of the highlights that maybe I can submit to you there in Chawama. And maybe finally, let me say that I did speak to Tasila Lungu, among other ward councillors that are born in Chawama, because the paper has gotten about 3 ward councillors, as well as UPND did not walk out empty. They did manage to scoop one ward councillor that is in Lilai somewhere there, which is under Kawata constituency. All right. So, in as far as the promises that has been made by Tasila Lungu, I'm sorry to mention that I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I will try to hit the nail on its head to say, as a person that has covered Chawama elections for a long time. In 2016, I was in Chawama covering the Chawama constituency. Again in 2015, somewhere there, I was in Chawama covering the by-election. I feel so embarrassed. I feel so ashamed because the promise that has been given by the Tasila Lungu, the priority agenda, is about giving the people of Chawama a secondary school. All right? And this, for me, has been a talk show for so many years now. That's why I say I feel embarrassed as a person that has been covering this by-election in Chawama, because almost all these people, all the immediate past members of parliament for Chawama, they have been talking about giving the people of Chawama a secondary school. Remember that Chawama doesn't have a secondary school.
Yes.
All right? We had the president himself, Edgar Lungu, who was a member of parliament in Chawama. Again, he left that area without giving the people of Chawama a secondary school, and that became, which was among his promises. Again, we had Lawrence Chalwe, who was a member of parliament for Chawama. When I was interviewing him, I remember, I asked him the same question that has become more like boring and is now becoming so monotonous to me, to ask them, what is your priority agenda to the people of Chawama since you've been elected? I remember Mr. Chalwe telling me and the people of Zambia, and through Movie TV, that his main agenda was to give the people of Chawama a secondary school, which he never did. Again, the daughter to the president, she's giving the same promise that her priority agenda is to give the people of Chawama a secondary school. So I'm not saying that I doubt her potential, I don't doubt her credibility, but I'm saying, for me, the same and similar promise, I think that's what is becoming more boring to me, and I feel so ashamed. But I'm not trying to judge Tasila Lungu that she's incapable of giving the people of Chawama a secondary school, among other promises. I think that's not my point. My point is that the promises, I think, is too much. It's like our electorate, not Tasila Lungu. Again, let me re-emphasize, let me hasten to say, I'm not attacking anybody here, but I'm saying all our political office bearers across the country, I think they should be able to own up. Let's not take the people of Zambia or the electorate that wakes up in the morning to go and cast their votes to elect you as a member of parliament. Let's not take them for granted, because one day they are going to react. And how they are going to react, is by voting you out, just like we have seen most of the members of parliament that were in parliament in the last National Assembly, they've been ejected from the sleeping at Parliament Motel, which is a neighbor to Movie TV or Kalingalinga.
I know that you've talked about the results at member of parliament level, and like you've mentioned, now it is official. You are still on the ground that Tasira Mwans has been declared as a duly elected member of parliament, and also the councillors there. But Potfas has posted on his Facebook page, he says he's going to petition. Do you see him succeeding with his petition?
I doubt. I'm not a judge. I'm not the constitutional court judge. Nor do I work for the courts or the judiciary. You and I, Casey, we work together at Movie TV there, which is in Kalingalinga, Mkomboni. But to be honest with you, I do not think so. Why do I say so? We remember in 2016, Potfa Tembo he stood as a member of parliament for Chawama.
Yes.
And he lost. What did he do? He went to court to petition, and the petition never came out in his favor. All right? So these are the issues I'm talking about. And if you remember the difference which came out in 2016, I think there was a minimal difference than the difference which I've seen this time around. All right? So in 2016, if he never succeeded, I do not think that maybe there will be a possibility of him succeeding this time around. It's not, I don't want to be cited for contempt, but I'm just trying to give an analysis based on what has happened in the past. But anyway, in every competition, there will be somebody who's going to walk out, very aggrieved, and all the best thing he has done is not to go and attack Kasila Lungu or his opponent, but he wants to iron these issues in a very amicable manner, and this has to be through the courts of law. So I think let's support him. A person that chooses to use a right formative, a right system in settling grievances, I think such people, for me, we have to support them. You remember in 2016 again, UPN leader, when he lost, he never went on the pulpit to start insulting people. He never sent his cadres to go and attack, for example, Edgar Lungu. But he decided to go to the courts of law, which are the institutions that have been given to all of us to settle our grievances. So I think let's support him. But in terms of him succeeding, well, it's a very big question mark that will be answered once he goes to the court of law, and of course the results will be able to determine. But I doubt, literally doubt, because remember again, there was other huge petitions that we saw in 2016 in which evidence were very much clear. You remember the Munali petition by Dorini Mwamba against, Margaret Mwanakatwe, so many, and alongside the other petitions, But again, there was rather the Lusaka Central again. You remember where was it the wife to Dr. Guy Scott also petitioned, Mwanakatwe? Yes.
Yes.
But things never worked out. Yes, things never worked out. So maybe something can come out. Maybe something can come out. Sometimes others, you find that they just end up, giving up because of the long processes whenever they take these matters to our courts of law. You take the matter which is supposed to be settled maybe in the next 3 months or maybe in the next 6 months. It's going to take you about 3 to 4 years. So I think it's a question of yes or no, but the biggest answer or my own understanding would be a no.
Innocent, I know that I need to let you go so that you rest. Maybe you have, you can give us your concluding remarks, and also so that we can call it whether it is a day or we can call it a night.
Indeed, we can call it a night, Casey. My closing remarks would be once again a reminder to the people that have been elected as members of parliament, that as well as ward councillors, that always remember why the people of Zambia have decided to vote for you. Always remember why the over 18 million Zambians decided to walk up on the 12th of August to go and queue up because they wanted you, they saw potential in you, they saw that leadership in you. They should always remember why a grade 12 graduate decided to wake up in the morning on that particular moment for the first time to go and cast their votes. It's because they want to see, they want to be given perhaps jobs, substantial part-time jobs that are going to help them to raise money and take themselves to school, as well as universities or colleges if you wish. Again, the people of Chawama, I want to make mention because that's where I'm coming, I am right now, is that they have spoken. I spoke to the women, some of them you remember during daytime, who lamented to say they want proper markets in that area. You cannot have a place where the Republican president is coming from. There is no proper market. You cannot have a place where a Republican president is coming from. There is no secondary school. If you want to go and find a secondary school, you have to take your child either to Kamwala. You have to take them to places like Kabulonga. You have to take places. Your children to areas like, for example, Roma Park or whatever, Thorn Park, if you want to talk about those issues. So I think for me, well, the people of Zambia have spoken countrywide. We have seen most of the giants, the perceived political giants that were so outspoken in the National Assembly being ejected out of the National Assembly. So always they should remember that the powers that they have, Kelvin Chipokolo, they come from the people. When the people again decide they are going to strip them off and send them back to their family members as well as home. Again, I think one thing that maybe we can work on as well as a nation, I think, I'm hoping for me that the new bleed of these parliamentarians that have opened doors to the National Assembly, the likes of the Munia Zulu, the young man that has been very pragmatic in terms of speaking, criticizing people around. They are going to inject a new energy in the National Assembly. What I'm looking for personally is the issue where maybe, KC, let's ensure that we refine our constitution such that when, for example, whoever is going to be elected or sworn in or inaugurated as Republican president, either Edgar Lungu, it could be HH or whichever, either Harry Kalawa, it could be Stephen Nyirenda, or among others, let's ensure that the appointment of these ministers, let it come from outside Parliament. This has been a debate that we've had as a country for a long time. Why do I say so? The reasons are very simple. You have seen how much most of these, what we used to call provincial ministers, how they have tumbled from defending their seats. They have tumbled. An example is my elder brother, whom I come from Eastern Province, and he is also an Easterner, Makepi Zulu. He was a provincial minister for Eastern Province. But today, he's no longer a provincial minister. He's as the same as myself. The only difference maybe that could be there, maybe if at all, maybe he has invested heavily. But we are at the same level now. Why? Because most of these people, when they were provincial ministers, when they were MPs, they were only concentrating on their ministerial positions that they were given by a Republican president. For me, that is a risk.
Thank you.
And take care of your parliamentary seats. Only those that were wise, they were able to remember that the people that gave me the powers are coming from Dundumwezi. The people that gave me powers are coming from Mansa Central in the likes of Chitaluchilopia. The people that gave me powers are coming from Ikele, like in the likes of Mchima, among others. For me, that's the kind of leadership that I want to see. But in terms of the appointments of ministers, cabinet ministers, we need to work on that. Let us appoint cabinet ministers outside Parliament so that parliamentarians, they should focus on their work, works, that of enacting laws and scrutinizing these laws and the constitution as well, so that we can be able to establish a better constitution. When you are a member of, a cabinet minister, focus on your work as a cabinet minister. It ends there. No need of you having a constituents. I think for me that could be my submission.
Thank you so much, Innocent Piri. Thank you so much. That was our staffer, Innocent Piri
Thank
from
you so
Chawama,
much.
giving us an update. It is now official. Tasira Mwans has been declared as the duly elected member of parliament for Chawama. And we are told that they have managed to scoop about three, councillors have won who stood on the PF ticket in Chawama. And the UPN also have accounted for one, councillor in Chawama constituency. But Potfa has posted on his Facebook page that he is going to petition those results, or he's going to petition the victory of Tasira Mwansa. Kudos to Tasira Mwansa for winning, that seat, the Chawama seat. I know that Mavuto, before we crossed over to Innocent Piri to give us an update, you were commenting on the letter that we saw from State House, and also the claims by the PFSG that they don't have the G20s from Northwestern, Western and Southern because their polling agents were chased from those talking centers.
First of all, the letter is, to borrow his word, the letter is I feel disappointed as a citizen because there is an admission of guilty within the contents of that letter that certain things have not been done well. One, the PF as a governing political party have been in charge of the security system. I'm therefore left to speculate, where were the police officers when their members were being chased from these polling stations? Why were these issues not raised? Just this morning, you and me, we were watching the broadcaster, and we heard there are journalists from these areas in southern and western province reporting. And one of the questions that the presenter was asking was, will you define to me how the mood has been? I think I didn't hear anything that there was violence or people were chased. So, where are these concerns coming from? If truly there were concerns, like he said, they would have raised them with the ECZ. And we've been told they are yet to comment on that matter. But also, secondly, President Lungu is a lawyer. He's got legal advisors at State House. If you read through his statement, there's the issue of possible nullification of those, and where he's complaining to say the ECZ has not done anything to be able to protect them, and they've gone ahead with the announcements of the results. I'm also left to wonder, did they have a look at the provision of the Constitution? Or maybe they are afraid of the next stage. Do you know what the next stage is? If tomorrow or any other day after this the announcement of results comes to an end, do you know what the implication is? Immediately there is filing with that of that petition. I was just reading through one of the prominent lawyers, State Counsel Musa Mwen, where he has indicated that the law provides that, because this is mandated,
yes,
to be able to conduct and declare election results. But if there's a dispute, the issues can only be resolved in the Constitutional Court.
Yes.
But when an aggrieved party, in this case, the incumbent, files in that petition, it literally becomes a candidate, not so?
Yes.
And that you have to hand over now the instruments of power to a neutral person. So why did they issue that statement? I failed to appreciate the spirit in which that statement was issued when the president sit with his advisors to be able to get advice based on legal interpretation. Because it didn't sound like that thing was actually authored by our colleagues like him from the law fraternity. I'm yet, as I told you, I wanted to be a bit blunt. I'm yet to understand and appreciate the spirit. And I want to thank the Law Association of Zambia.
Before we get to the Law Association of Zambia.
Just to jump on that,
Yes.
I think that, correction number one, I'm not from the law fraternity as well. I'm equally as ignorant about the law as a layman out there.
But we are talking about the head of state who is a lawyer.
But one thing that I think Mavuta raises, which is very interesting, is the fact that we have a head of state who is the lawyer himself. And he is privy to legal advice. He has people at his disposal that can give him all the legal advice that he needs. And it is not, a new thing actually, Mavuta. If you look back at some of the things that have happened during the administration of President Lungu. Remember when he made his ministers stay in office after the dissolution of parliament in 2016. I mean, it was clearly stipulated in the law that you can do that. But this is a man who is a lawyer himself. It's a man who has legal advisors. But yet they went ahead and let him do that. So it is not disappointing for some of us to see a letter like that. I think that the other thing that is in the letter which could be of interest is it appears to me that in the spirit, the way it's written is such that maybe they were thinking of trying to stop the Electoral Commission of Zambia of going ahead with announcing the results. And like I said before, there's no legal framework for that. What the law provides for is that if ECZ announces the results and you do not agree with these results, then you petition. That is the provision that is there. But there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can stop, the government can go and stop the ECZ from announcing the results. That is not the acceptable thing to do. And I think the president and whoever crafted that letter makes it seem like leaves the country in suspense. They say that we are thinking of what to do, more like they tried that, maybe it didn't work out, but now they're thinking of what to do next. I mean, at this point, the country needs clear communication of what is happening and what does the government intend to do about this. Of course, there's been concerns from the public that the results are coming in very slowly. People want, there's anxiety out there, people want to get the results and get over with this. But also we have to remember that the ECZ has promised that they'll deliver results within 72 hours.
Yes.
Which hopefully is by tomorrow, Sunday. By then will be 72 hours. And so we're hoping that this ECZ comes through, despite the fact that we understand there's pressure. But also, if the government wants to communicate, if the president and anyone that is in government now want to communicate the message out there, it needs to be clear. They have to show leadership. You can't be so ambiguous and create a situation of panic among the public. I think that is what the letter is communicating to me. It is not very clear. It seems like they wanted to do something and they're still thinking through, a certain process or what to do next. I mean, if they want to do anything, let them go ahead and do it. Let them communicate, this is our position, we are not happy with the results. ECZ should go ahead and announce the results and we'll petition the results. That's clear communication with the public.
Mavuto, yesterday when the Electoral Commission of Zambia wanted to announce the results for FEIRA, Gary Nkombo, Honorable, stood and objected. Don't you think this is the same path that ECL and whoever...
He objected before they presented.
And now...
We had an election. Let me just finish. We had an election. If there were those challenges, they should have been reported. And you see, the people that are complaining are the people that are in charge of these institutions. For instance, the police. So imagine if the PF went to the Zambia police under Kakoma Kanganja, who is supervised by who? The president as the commander of the armed forces, not so. They would have provided that security. That's what I was saying. I don't know. It just doesn't tally to be able to equate maybe that particular statement with some of the situation. Yes, there's one regrettable situations which were admitted should not have happened. Should not have happened. I think the death of our colleague in Northwestern Province. But these are the isolated, and that is an isolated incident. But what about these other areas where because truth be told, even in these areas like South, and they were at least getting votes.
And in fact, if that is incident or that situation that happened in Solwezi was the reason why they are saying the ECZ cannot announce the results, it doesn't make sense. Let them not announce results there in Solwezi when an incident happened, not countrywide. We didn't see countrywide what happened in Solwezi with the unfortunate death of
But according to SG, in southern, northwestern and western, their members of staff were just from those polling
and that is what we are saying.
And they're saying
But
they
it's
don't
like
have the
also what
gentleman.
Aaron is saying. There is lack of clarity on the issues raised. You brought in the issue of Gary. Gary presented clarity before the sitting to say, oh no, the paper I have and my colleagues have is not reflective of what you're about to do, because we've not done what? We've not agreed. Today, even during that question he raised at Mulungu, for me, should have said there are 20 people are still missing from our team. So you remember, it's like that the conversation I had previously with a member of a different political party, where I questioned. You are claiming that when you wear this regalia, you ever beaten. Give me a list of 10 people who've been beaten. It's the same. I'll still bring up the same question.
And in this situation, it's very easy to do that because they can identify the
Yes.
polling stations to say, at this polling station, our agents were chased, and their names are so and so.
Yes.
And even provide the G20 forms to say they did not even sign on these results. So then there's evidence
The fact
to
that
support their claims.
Yeah, the fact that those results at Mulungoshi, there must have been a signature there. Because the only thing there is totaling, clarifying, and sitting with the stock, oh, these are your papers you've brought. So, did this happen? And them, even him, that's what I'm saying, with Gary there was clarity. He came with a paper, I think you saw him. Even
Yes.
today, I think, during the last briefing, he had a paper. And said, there are these problems. How do we address them? But for me, the challenge to PFSG is, do you have a paper in terms of a list? You see, in this country, before, we've been told, or it has been reported that some nice somewhere in Southern Province was victimized. With a name given. When people went on the ground, did we ever find that person?
Up to now.
Yes.
So some of these allegations are quite baseless. And like I said, first of all, when you make allegations, make sure that you support those allegations with evidence. And then communicate in clarity and simplicity with the public.
Yeah.
So you can tell them, we are saying this because of so and so and so. And then people will be able to follow through. But if you don't do that, they just become allegations.
And the families, of course, of those people would have come up to say, for us, our relative went missing. And they were part of this process. The party, yes, is claiming the members. What about the family? The owners of those people? Where are they? Have they been able to show up? So, like he has stated, I think for me, this conversation lacks one thing. And even before that is exhausted, you have the issue now to say, no, these elections are not fair based on this.
Yes, the president has
Even when,
these are not free and fair elections.
And you know what that does, Kelvin? What the president is doing now is setting a stage for a possible disputed election.
yeah.
And so what happens when there's a disputed election? Two possible things will happen. First of all, they have to go to court and petition the results of the election. And secondly, who knows what could happen? Because in any disputed election, emotions are high. So this is why I'm appealing to the president and the party in power that when you communicate, make sure it is clear terms that you're using. Make sure it's in simple terms. Make sure you state your position clearly, rather than being ambiguous, because that creates an atmosphere that is unnecessary.
Now, the Law Association of Zambia has, released a statement, Mavuto. The Law Association of Zambia is immensely perturbed by sentiments by his...
And you see, that statement you read, just immensely, you know what it means? Hugely. If you read through that statement,
Yes.
it is a strong worded. Read it. It talks about so many aspects of life.
By His Excellency President Edgar Lungu, who is also a presidential candidate in the 2021 presidential election, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu calling the elections in Western, Southern and Northwestern province a nullity. Though candidates have a constitutional right to be aggrieved with the electoral process, our laws provide for mechanisms to address any such grievances according to the Constitution of Zambia.
Before you even get to the Constitution, just there, you know what the learned lawyer just said? That the president is offside. Now we can proceed.
So, the electoral disputes and grievances can only be resolved by the courts of law after and not before election results are announced and winners declared by the body mandated to do so, which is the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ.
In short, ECZ is being told, ignore what the president has said.
Absolutely.
In respect of
that's a summary of that statement.
In respect of presidential elections, Article 1014 of the Constitution specifically provides that the body mandated to settle disputes and nullify elections is only the Constitutional Court, which can only be petitioned within 7 days of a declaration of a winner of the presidential election.
I was asking you, before you proceed also, I was asking you, why did they issue that statement? If truly the lawyers were sitting to be able to advise the president, why did they even issue that statement? Because the law and the mechanisms are well provided for as part of the relief. The 7 days, there is the issue of the Constitutional Court. So
and this can only be done after someone has been declared.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's how you can take. So in short also, if you look at the statement issued, there is an admission that we've lost elections. That's the implication of that statement.
Which statement? From
No, the from State House, yes. Based on the interpretation that the law, because they're saying only when there's a winner. But now we want to jump
and stop someone to be declared a winner.
Yes.
Let me continue. Gentlemen, you'll be coming in when you want to clarify something. Therefore, sentiments empowering the elections by anyone other than the courts of law are most unfortunate and have a danger of undermining democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law in the conduct of general elections in the country. Suggestions that the ECZ can be ordered to stop announcing election results and declaring a winner on account of one party being unhappy whether or not the complaint is justified are not in tandem with the law governing elections.
And who determines that the complaint is justified? It can only be the court of what? Of law. That complaint submitted is what? Is justified.
Because when you go to the Constitutional Court, you go to the Court of Law to seek redress because of a dispute in an election, you provide evidence. You have to provide for electoral malpractices. You have to say this is what happened, this is what happened. And then the court looks at the evidence to admit the case, to say this case has merit. And when the case has merit, then you obviously go into the actual proceedings of the disputed election. Then the court makes the judgment. So what we're saying here is very basic and very simple. SG for the Patriotic Front or President Lungu has no basis, has no support to tell the ECZ to say do not declare results or stop announcing results. The ECZ should work independently to ensure that they go on and provide verified results.
And look, wait first. Even when he was amplifying it today on the floor of Mungushi, why was he ignored? They went ahead.
And they didn't even respond to it.
Yeah, they went ahead and they said, what did they say? They said they are still looking at it. But they went ahead. Because justices, they ignored it. Even when again the president, and you see, the party was systematic.
So they ignored the SG in the morning.
Yes.
The letter was released in the afternoon. They come in the night and they've gone ahead to announce the results.
They've continued.
They started announcing results at what, 20 hours?
Yes.
8 p.m. tonight. All the way into almost 22 hours. And so, yes, so you can see that the Electoral Commission of Zambia should not even be intimidated. They are within the confinement of the law. They are mandated to announce results which are verified, of course, working together with the stakeholders and making sure that the public gets those results within 5 days, by the way. This is according to the law. The law provides that within 5 days, everything should be exhausted. But like I said, the ECZ has promised us that within 72 hours, they'll deliver all the results. And 72 hours should come by the completion of tomorrow, on Sunday. So we are hoping that by tomorrow, we should be able to see someone conceding defeat and someone congratulating the other person.
And in short, for Goloso, the other aspect you need to look at is, one, my only advice to the Secretary General or the Chief Executive of the party of the PF is not to complain, is to begin to prepare defense, like he has stated. For when immediately a person is announced, is in court and say, no, I don't think these elections are.
But the same SG was on record saying,
for me, based on the
law,
based on the law, right now as we speak, there's no dispute.
No, there's no dispute.
Based on the law, there's no dispute. Because nobody has been declared.
So what they're saying about these polling agents and all that, those are just claims.
Yes.
If there's a dispute, they come and say, we're disputing on this basis and this is the evidence.
And they'll be heard.
Yes, they have to be heard.
LAS therefore reiterates its call on political players, including His Excellency Republican President, who is equally bound by the constitutional provisions according to Article 1(3) thereof, to give ECZ a chance to discharge its mandate without
actually,
fear
that sentence,
or intimidation.
That sentence differed with it. Why be given a chance? It's their mandate. The statement actually should have read that they are allowed to uphold the rule of the land that governs elections. That's all.
Basically, also, that statement is saying that no one is above the law. Yeah. Even the president himself is not above the law. So we have to let the law take its course in this process.
Different political party leaders that participated or are still participating in these general elections have released statements. By looking at the statement that was released by State House, and they are not agreeing. They're not in agreement.
No, in fact, when you read that statement, they're very categorical on one thing. They're basically congratulating President Hakainde Hichilema of winning the election, and even asking President Lungu to concede. That is what the letter is all about. Now, even before that, you know that some of them went and made press statements. We're talking about the Socialist Party President Fred Membe. We're talking about the PEP President Sean Tembo. No, these are on record. In fact, Sean Tembo, I think, and Fred Membe even suggested that the state provides state security to President Hakainde Hichilema because he's perceived to be winning this election. But they've conceded and they've congratulated Hakainde Hichilema. So this speaks volumes. We have almost about, 5? So, and these were participating, like we said, they were participants in this election. They had polling agents. They had parallel voter tabulation as well.
They signed the across
the country.
They just signed the G20. So they have results in their hands.
So they are telling us something maybe that we don't know.
We don't know.
They need to come forward and tell us. But they've, by and large, made it very categoric that, President Hakainde is headed for a win, and President Lungu is headed for a defeat.
We'll be able to, maybe by chance tomorrow, to call one of these presidential candidates. Maybe Sean Tembo can make it. But there is something that the youths have said. We start with the statement that came from Kalembe, who is a leader at the provincial level in the Patriotic Front. He says President Edgar Lungu is winning, and he's going to hand over power to himself. Direct upstairs, let's get to listen to what Kalembe Daniel had to say on the elections and the results that are coming, and the gentlemen, Aaron and Mavuto, who give their 2 cents after watching this clip from Daniel Kalembe.
Political parties who participated in this year's general election, it's only Patriotic Front with credible PVT, and we have done our PVT very well, and we have won these elections. We don't win elections by interrupting the process. You don't win elections by promoting violence. You don't win elections by giving false news. We have won these elections as Patriotic Front. And allow me to appeal to my youths in Lusaka that we have won And I'm happy even to announce to everyone that we have won these elections. Our president will be handing power to himself. So youths in all areas become, we have carried the day. The Zambian people, they have given us another mandate, 5 years. So it's now time to start implementing our party manifesto, what we promised the Zambian people.
So, Mavuto Piri,
You really want me to comment on that? Maybe, will you?
they have done their PVT, and the Zambian people have given them a new mandate, 5 years, 2021 to 2026. That is according to Daniel Kaleb.
There are three things that he mentioned.
And they're handing power to themselves.
There are three things that are key that he mentioned.
Yes.
He says,
One,
you don't win elections by stopping announcement of results. What stopped the announcement of results?
maybe Gary yesterday, because
He wanted the wrong things to be announced.
Gary was merely requesting for a verification of the results.
So that is not true.
Number two,
Secondly, that you don't win the election through violence. How?
maybe he was referring to their polling agents who were chased from.
But these matters, as I said, bring the papers before the table. If there are those other issues you want to term as criminal activities, I think it's within the police, the mandate of the police to be able to deal with those issues. The third one was?
It's you who said you spoke about three important, handing power to them.
Fake news. You spoke about fake news.
Mm.
Fake news in this country is an offense. If you don't know, there's a cyber security bill, law now, act. If it is recognized or known that you are providing fake news, you'll be taken in. So that's why I said, did you really want me to comment on this, that I can't substantiate?
Aaron, he has a message for the youths in Lusaka. He's assuring them they have done their PVT, and the PF is the only political party with a credible PVT, and that the Zambian people have given the PF a fresh mandate from 2021 to 2026.
Well, they say numbers don't lie, or figures don't lie. And there's also a saying that says facts are stubborn things. If he can look at what we have so far, even on the screen, 62 constituencies out of 156. And the UPND Alliance, Hakainde Hichilema, the candidate, is leading by 61%. President Eri Gachagua is at 33%. And these are not just figures from just Southern Province or Western Province. These have been countrywide. There's some constituencies accounted for on the Copper Belt, in Luapula, Northern,
Eastern.
almost Eastern, all over the country. And Hakainde Hichilema is leading at 61%. So what kind of PVT is he talking about? What kind of figures is he talking about? Perhaps he's the one that is spreading fake news, like Mafuta said. So what we are seeing now...
This does not even announced. So how do they know that?
What we are seeing now is exactly what we saw in the United States of America. Donald Trump
Refused.
in power, the man who was in White House, which would be our state house today, was saying what you're seeing out there is fake news. Saying, in fact, the opposition have stolen the election. The Democratic Party, they've stolen the election. They are rigging the election.
It's like a template of the American.
So now we have the party in power saying that the opposition, in Africa, but that's unprecedented. We always fond of the opposition accusing the ruling party of rigging elections. But now it's the other way around. I wonder what has changed. So I think what he's telling us is just a piece of fantastic nonsense.
Again, one of the contesting, candidates at the presidential level, Dr. Sulumbe of the leadership movement, has also, considered defeat, and he has congratulated the opposition alliance candidate, Hakainde Hichilema. He did this before before we reached 62 constituencies. And now with the 62 constituencies, now Edgar Chagwa Lungu, President, His Excellency needs about 400,000 plus in order for him to catch up with Hakainde Hichilema, who is still leading. Now he has scored 1,024,212 votes. In case this is when you have just joined us, out of the 62 constituencies from 156, UPND Alliance presidential candidate Hakainde Hichilema has 1,024,212. And President Edgar Chagwa Lungu of the PF has poured 562,523. Now the percentage is that Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND Alliance is sitting at 61%, whilst Edgar Chagwa Lungu again, Aaron, you said that you what?
About 33%.
About 33%. Now, Leadership Movement President Dr. Richard Silumbe this afternoon, has conceded defeat and also congratulated the UPND Alliance presidential candidate Hakainde Hichilema. This is what Dr. Richard Silumbe had to say.
Opposition political party Leadership Movement Richard Silumbe has become the fifth contestant in the presidential race to concede defeat. Following the likes of Patriots for Economic Progress Sean Tembo, Movement for Multi-Party Democracies Nevas Mumba, Socialist Party's Fred Membe and National Restoration Party Stephen Nyerenda. Dr. Silumbe says figures of voters for their preferred candidates are indicating that he is not favored, thereby prompting him to accept defeat.
You see that the opposition is showing to be victorious, and I take this privilege to thank and also congratulate Mr. Hakainde Hichilema for being the next president of this country. He has won this election, and we want to ensure that we secure a free and fair election. We don't want anything to happen. We have seen the PVTs, and we are very hopeful that we need to transform from this point to a peaceful future. We are all opportunistic.
He explains that he is however happy that he contested and feels he will do better next time, as this year, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ did not allow for campaigns, which has greatly impacted on the voting outcome.
A situation where we were allowed to campaign, but by and large, we are happy that change has come, and we want to support that change. We want to be on the side of the Zambian people so that the Zambian people can achieve what they want. We don't want to see anything happening to the results, and we want to ensure that the true victors are given the mandate to govern this country.
Dr. Silumbe is anticipating a victory for United Party for National Development Alliance leader Hakainde Hichilema, basing on his lead in the counting from the figures being released by ECZ. ECZ has continued to receive the total number of people who voted for their preferred candidates from across the country and have continued to update the nation through various platforms. Reporting for Movie TV News, Namangolwa Mundia.
Dr. Richard Silumbe was also talking about PVT. They says, according to the results that they have received, and the PVT, Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND Alliance is headed for victory, and also had a message for the head of state to concede defeat.
Yeah, I mean, even in other countries or other places, you have what we call exit polls. Once the election is done, people have voted. There's PVT and their projections. People begin making projections. And in fact, in other places like the United States, even before the electoral body announces the results, the media houses like CNN or Fox News, they'll be calling out results, And so, like the point I made before, these candidates who've participated in this election, and they've conceded already, about 5 of them, like we were saying, they have political parties. They had polling agents across the country. They have conducted PVT. So for them to concede and then also congratulate Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND Alliance, then they must know something that we don't know. So I would only hope that official results that come will actually reflect what the PVT has been from the participants in the selection, the presidential candidates and their political parties. Because the problem might be that the ECZ announces results that is completely different from the purported PVT. And so then that might be a problem. Like we saw Garen Kombo trying to present to the ECZ conference to say these need to be verified. What we have seems to be different from what you're having. So I hope that these PVT figures that the opposition have will be almost the same. Maybe if there are some discrepancies, might be just minor discrepancies. And they can be able to reconcile those and be able to come up with the... I mean, the president of the leadership movement is in order to do whatever he wants, and he has
when the Electoral Commission of Zambia were giving us those results from the 31 constituencies, you know, it seemed as if everything was okay. Not until after finishing announcing those results, we saw Gary Nkombo again today asking, you know, the commission on the results of the
election. The question, I think this year we're talking about G20. That year we're talking about G12. When the court asked them, where are these forms? They didn't present them. But look at the security that they've been able to provide to this form this year. That simply means people have learned one stage, and the system now is one stage better. And even today, I think we did see, I think Civic Center, among other places, where even the commission noted that there are people who are being harassed. It's only that people now are more inquisitive. They are asking the system. So you can't fault the people. The only thing you can be able to do is to create, I think, in the systems. Don't leave people in suspense. Because suspense creates a lot of anxieties. And when anxieties are building, it becomes a problem. So we need to be a very open-minded society. You are aware, I think, 3 months or 4 months before these elections, the Electoral Commission of Zambia had been honored as one of them. And now, this is when we are testing. Are they truly an open, Gary Nkombo can go on the floor and be able to challenge them and say, hey, Baba, Makiza, Tenting Guinness, to own a film card. And they have no choice, because this in that electoral process of Zambia.
August, and like you mentioned, we are slowly but sure heading or clocking the 72 hours that the Electoral Commission have now started. We are in the process
of counting down now.
The counting down to the real counting down to 72 hours. Gary Nkombo says each and every vote is going to be counted.
It has to. It has to. It is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, and it is also the responsibility of all Zambians to make sure that those who casted their vote for their preferred candidate, that vote counts and that vote is protected. Now, I wanted to make a very quick comment about this letter from the State House about how the election is not free and fair. I mean, this government has even gone ahead to shut down the internet, you know, during an election process, you know, where people have to use this app called VPN to access their WhatsApp or to access their Facebook. But yet, they are the ones who are saying this election is not free and fair. And so I challenge them, because they're responsible to create a conducive environment for a free and fair election. So if it's not, then what have they done about the situation? They're the ones who went ahead and tried to provide security, more security to the country. They said they did not have enough policemen to police all the polling stations. So the police appealed to other security wings, such as, you know, the defense forces, the military. And even with that, yet we are being told this was not a free and fair election. People were disappearing at polling stations, polling agents for the Patriotic Front.
They were abducted.
All these allegations. Where were the security wings of the state? So these allegations from the state are from State House, in fact, are very serious allegations. They should not alarm the nation. They should not create a situation where people are in suspense about what State House is saying. They should be very clear and precise what the message is. Secondly, going back to what you've said, I mean, we are now counting down to the promise from the Electoral Commission of Zambia to say within 72 hours they'll be able to deliver the results which are credible, which are free and fair, which everyone would accept as the outcome of the election. So we hope that by the end of Sunday, I mean, I'm sure we hear from them at noon, as they promised the 12 hours, but by the end of the day, we might be able to be in a position to know who the clear winner is. Maybe by then 100 constituencies, 100 plus constituencies would have been announced. And maybe by then the winner should be positioned to be able to create a transition team, you know, to make sure there's a smooth transfer of power. And the loser should be able to prepare themselves to concede defeat. But it is encouraging. We have seen already 5 presidential candidates conceding defeat. There are some that have done terribly, performed terribly in this election. They have not yet considered this, but I would encourage them. If they know that few hours before the end of that 72 period is over, they will lose the election. They should go ahead and do what Nevas Mumba has done, what Sean Tembo has done, what Fred Membe has done, and what others have done who have conceded defeat. So we are hoping for the best in this election. We're still optimistic. I mean, just like Mavuto said, the ECZ is not a perfect institution. It's run by human beings. But we don't expect catastrophic mistakes. We don't expect mistakes that will put the country's peace in jeopardy. We don't expect that. But if there are small errors that needs to be corrected, if Garin Kombo has some queries, they need to be addressed through dialogue, and we should be able to come together as a country and as a nation and continue with the peace that we've enjoyed even after the elections.
Mavuto, we have to go. There are a number of seats that have been, a number of constituencies that have been declared. Maybe you can pick 2 or 3 just at parliamentary level, the people that you're happy that have, they have won, they have bounced back, or they are now, they have won the seats.
Well, there's a common feature in the UPND. Plenty of lawyers in their team, So, but of course, maybe they will come and value add. But one thing I like also about this setup in terms of the composition of the prospective parliament is one, it seems to be a very youthful parliament. If you look at areas like on the Copper Belt, Christopher Kangombe, you look at Binwe Mpundu, in the Eastern Province, you look at Lumezi 1, JJ. And also one thing I've learned about this particular election, Chifokolo, is when you ignore the masses, you don't take them to school, they will educate themselves and they'll come and vote for themselves. And clearly it has shown. If you look at the sacrifice that the people of Petauke have made, if today the two, the one who has won and the one who has lost, you took them for a job interview, I don't think the one that has won will ever be picked. But the people have made that decision because they believe this is a person who relates with them.
And that's the other dynamic we see in Parliament is a huge number of independents. And it brings a really interesting flavor
dimension also to our politics, because most of the times is that our leaders have been slaves of political parties. But when you look at these political parties, most of them are empty shells. In that one, if you look at even adoptions of these candidates, popular candidates were left out. And they went and picked candidates that were not popular, and it has costed them. It's like what Innocent at one point, maybe that could be the only point that I agree with him. How would an entire provincial minister lose a constituency within that province?
That Makebizu is now in the same boots with Innocent, that we are now the same.
No, it's not about the same. Actually, the man, if I was him, I would even take leave from politics a bit to be able to understand. Because, and you remember at one time when I think the president had traveled to Lundazi, he was in front and he touched him and asked, Muwazi Baba? You remember what the answer was? And this is a provincial minister. So even with a new, it's the same also, I think, on the ticket of the governing political party. We had, I think, a provincial minister down south, equally.
We are here to win, except.
Yeah, equally lost. So
we are here to win.
I'm thinking I think I need to do a political study and begin to understand what do some of these leaders do once they're appointed. Because if today I was appointed Lusaka Province Minister, I think it should give me the comfort to be able to stand in any constituency.
Within Lusaka?
Within Lusaka. Because I would have given the people of Lusaka a service. And that service everybody would remember. Kunkala soba kulimbira. Next, I think Kamili Kono will come and next, Tikufunani Kuchawama. Because you would have attended to the needs of the people. So I'm yet to understand why certain people lost these seats even when they were provincial minister.
Aaron, yesterday, Saturday, we saw in Monza Central JJ Mwimbo being declared winner, and he said, I think I'm the only one who is going to save the people of Monza, maybe even the entire country, for 5 consecutive terms. And he said, I'm going to use my experience now in Parliament. We have new people, newcomers. Tasira Mwansa, former councillor, now she's a member of Parliament. Also Ruben Mutopiri, who missed the 2016-2021, Parliament, is coming back. I don't know whether he's coming back firebrand or vibrant. You have the likes of Kangombe, former, mayor, now coming to Parliament. What sort of debates are we going to see from 2021 to 2026, looking at the composition of Parliament now?
Well, I think for the first time, I would say it's very exciting to see that kind of energy coming to Parliament. But also on the flip side, you also still need seasoned politicians, seasoned returning members of Parliament. That's what I mean by that. For example, you still want to see the Garis and the Jack Mumbis, And my hope is that the newcomers, these who are coming into Parliament, who are not very well vested with the etiquette of Parliament, they'll be able to pick up the ropes and learn as fast as I can. But I think that because we are having people from the outside who are not really who we expected to go to Parliament, maybe they'll bring fresh ideas. Maybe they'll bring in debates and discussions that will represent the people that voted for them. Because the people in most of these constituencies, they've rejected these traditional politicians, these politicians who've been there 5, 15 years in their constituencies, 5, 10, 15 years. So if the people have rejected those and picked unpopular candidates, newcomers to Parliament, we are hoping that the people want a breath of fresh air. They want these people to bring ideas that have not been brought to Parliament before. So we are excited. We are anticipating some robust discussions, topics or debates about things that maybe we didn't even imagine. I hope they bring that creativity. But like I said, we also still need some seasoned politicians in there. We still need some to argue, from experience as well.
Gentlemen, we have to go. Thank you so much, Mavuto. We are now counting down to 12 hours. Like
the officials there also live in their own time zone. It could be 15 or 18 hours.
Aaron, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having
me.
But you agree with me that they live in their own time zone?
Yes, we've seen it before. Maybe at 12 they will come and say, no, give us 2 hours.
Yes.
We should get ready for another
15, 16 hours, 17 hours. Yeah.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's hope you'll be able to accompany, to keep us company as we continue to analyze and maybe grow the number of constituencies from 62 to maybe 100 before within the 72 hours that was promised. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It has been great discussing with you.
Thank you, sir.
This has been 2021 Zambia Decides, and we've been discussing a number of issues as we've been, going through the number of, constituencies that have been announced. This is Sunday, the 15th of August 2021. As things stand, 62 constituencies have been announced so far out of 156, and the way they are standing, Hagainde Ichilema of the UPND Alliance is still commanding or still leading the pack by, he has now poured 1,224,212 is being followed by His Excellency President Edgar Lungu of the Patriotic Front was polled 562,223. DP Hari Kalawa is sitting at 8,498. Anford Banda of Park 7,118. Fred Membe, now is being referred to as Fred Mumembe of Socialist Parties, now sitting at 6,014. Haive Hamududu, they are saying this is now the new name in town. Haive Hamududu of PNUP is at 3,637. We continue to count down and hoping that by 12 hours or so, or 15, when the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be coming to give us more results, we'll be able to, to know the shape or to know where we are going to. But many big ups, so congratulations to people that have made it at parliamentary level. Stanley Kakubo has made history, and this is something that is very interesting and encouraging in these years' elections, is that records are being broken and people are making their own records. Jack Mwimbu of Monze Central, former leader of the opposition in the House, has broken that record. He's going to be in Parliament for 25 years, consecutive years. Stanley Kakubo in Kapirimposhi has broken the record, becoming the first, member of Parliament for Kapirimposhi to retain the seat. Also in Kabushi, Boman Lusambo, the bulldozer, former Lusaka province minister, has also made history by becoming the first member of Parliament for Kabushi to retain that seat. Miriam Chonya in Kafiwe also has become, has broken that record by retaining, that seat, that seat. And also, Council Andereki is coming to Parliament together with other people like Munia Zulu for Lumezi constituency. Also, Ruben Mutolo Piri is coming back to Parliament. What a Parliament we are going to see. From a councillor to now a member of Parliament, Tasira Lungu Mwanza also has emerged victorious in Chawama constituency. Mike Mposha in Munali constituency. We continue to, mention or to give you these names. Also, Credo Nanjua in Mumbwa has retained that seat and is coming back to Parliament. Also, Elliot Kamondo in Mufumbwe is he has retained that seat. He will be representing the people of Mufumbwe for another 5 years. Prince Mukumbi has scooped that seat in Solwezi East. He is the member of Parliament and he will be representing the people of Solwezi East or Mushindamo constituency in Mushindamo district. My name is Kelvin Tabola, Chief Fokolu. Join us again this morning when we will return with the Sunrise Breakfast Show as we continue to give you the results and the happenings and as far as election results are concerned, as we are building up to the time that the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be coming back to give us, those results from 62 that have been announced, maybe 200 or 100 plus. Join us again in the morning. Good morning and good night.